Imagine a world tens of thousands of years ago, where our closest relatives, the Neanderthals, gathered in the dim light of a cave, their faces etched with sorrow. Did they mourn their dead? Did they hold funerals? For decades, we pictured them as brutish cavemen. But what if they were far more like us than we ever imagined? Today, we're diving into the moving evidence of ancient grief. Evidence that reveals the emotional depth of Neanderthals and reshapes our understanding of what it means to be human. Neanderthals roamed Europe and parts of Asia from about 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. They weren't just distant cousins. They were our kin, interbreeding with early modern humans and leaving traces of their DNA in us today. With brains as large as ours, they crafted stone tools, hunted massive beasts like mammoths, and survived brutal Ice Age winters. But were they capable of feeling the way we do? Could they grieve, love, and care like us? Let's start with a clue buried deep in the earth. Burial isn't just about hiding a body, it's a statement. It says, "This person mattered." It hints at ritual, respect, maybe even a belief in something beyond death. When we see deliberate burial in an ancient species, it's a window into their minds and hearts. So, did Neanderthals leave us this window? Let's travel back to a cave in France where the story begins. In 1908, two French brothers, both archaeologists and priests, unearthed something extraordinary in Chapelle-aux-Saints. A 50,000-year-old Neanderthal skeleton lay in a pit, curled up tight, as if tucked in for a final sleep. They called him the Old Man, and at 40 to 50 years old, he was ancient for his time. His bones told a story of struggle, arthritis, missing teeth, yet he lived long enough to suggest his group cared for him. At first, people scoffed. A burial? By Neanderthals? The methods back then were crude, and skeptics thought it might just be a natural hole. But fast forward to a 13-year study finished in 2013. Scientists proved that pit was no accident. Dug into solid bedrock, with the body undisturbed and quickly covered, it screamed intention. As the researchers put it, this could only have been created through deliberate excavation. Picture it. A community pausing their harsh lives to dig, to place him gently, to say goodbye. Now let's move to La Ferrassie, another French site, where the evidence gets even more heartbreaking. Around 41,000 years ago, a 2-year-old Neanderthal child was laid to rest. Her tiny bones, fragile yet perfectly preserved, showed no chew marks from scavengers, no signs of being tossed aside. Instead, a pit was dug in clean sediment just for her, her body aligned east to west. And here's the kicker: she wasn't alone. La Ferrassie holds several Neanderthal burials, adults, kids, all oriented the same way, heads to the east, bodies curled on their sides. This wasn't a one-off, it was a tradition. A 2-year-old couldn't hunt or fight. Why bury her so carefully unless she was loved? Researchers say this shows Neanderthals valued even their youngest, hinting at a society bound by emotion. But the most famous and debated story comes from Shanidar Cave in Iraq. In the 1960s, archaeologist Ralph Selecki found Shanidar 4, a Neanderthal surrounded by clumps of flower pollen, yarrow, chamomile, hollyhock. He called it the flower burial, imagining Neanderthals scouring the mountains for bouquets to honor their dead. Selecki wrote, "This shows the love of beauty goes beyond our species." It was a vision that stunned the world. But hold on. Science loves a twist. A 2023 study threw a curveball. Ancient bee burrows were found nearby, and those flowers? They don't bloom together in one season. Maybe bees, not Neanderthals, brought the pollen. Does that kill the romance? Not quite. The body was still deliberately placed, the sediment disturbed beneath it. Flowers or not, Shanidar 4 was buried with purpose. And in 2020, new digs uncovered another skeleton, buried 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, legs bent, arms tucked. Clear signs of intent. Shanidar keeps whispering, these weren't random graves, but burial is just half the story. What about how Neanderthals lived? Meet Shanidar 1, a man who defied the odds. Deaf, half-blind, with a withered arm and mangled feet, he hobbled through life until his 40s, an eternity back then. Expert Eric Trinkhaus said, his deafness alone would have made him predator bait. Yet he survived. How? His group fed him, protected him, cared for him. And then there's a child from 120,000 years ago found in Spain who lived 6 years with a condition like Down syndrome, severe hearing loss, shaky balance. She couldn't survive alone. It took a village. Researchers say this care required the whole group. Think about that. A community rallying around their weakest, no payback expected. At Saint-Césaire, a Neanderthal with a healed skull fracture lived on, his head patched up by crude prehistoric medicine. At Krapina, one with a twisted hand made it to adulthood. Broken bones healed everywhere. Neanderthals were tough, but they didn't leave their own behind. Burials and care aren't the only clues. At La Roche-Cotard, 57,000-year-old engravings, lines and shapes scratched into rock, hint at something more. Were they art? Symbols? We don't know, but they show Neanderthals thought beyond the next meal. In Spain, pierced shells and red pigments suggest adornment, maybe pride or identity. And the Divje babe flute, a bare bone with holes. Some say it's a Neanderthal instrument. Others say it's natural. If it's real, imagine them playing haunting tunes by firelight, expressing what words couldn't. Even their teeth tell tales. At El Cedron, traces of yarrow and chamomile, bitter medicinal plants, show they doctored themselves. They knew what healed, a wisdom born of watching, feeling, caring. So, did Neanderthals have funerals? We can't hear their wails or see their tears, but the evidence screams yes. They buried with care, mourned with purpose. From the old man's pit to the Ferrassie child's grave, from Shanidar's mysteries to the crippled who lived on, Neanderthals felt deeply. And here's the mind blower. Their DNA lives in us. Their grief, their love. It's our inheritance. Dr. Penny Spickens once said, compassion is the most fundamental human emotion. If she's right, Neanderthals prove it's ancient, woven into our bones. They weren't brutes. They were us, in a rougher skin. So, next time you feel a pang of loss, remember, you're echoing a sorrow as old as the caves. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Like and subscribe for more stories that connect us to our past and to each other.